Butty Boy is the reluctant fell runner. Historical Scene 5. Wash day was at the low centre of a horseshoe-shaped ring of 3,000-foot mountains. The mountains surrounded a lake which was battleship grey and still. It was the deepest lake in England. You could tell that by looking at it, and the feeling it gave you when you looked at it. It was like your mind could not decide between the endless emptiness of it, or to think of what could actually be lurking down there. At the head of the valley, Wash Day Head, was a pathway, Moses trod, leading up out of the valley, going over the lowest part of the mountain range and taking you into the next valley. JB and Camo were running up Moses trod.
God, this is hard work,
said JB.
Nearly there,
said Camo. There was no cemetery in the Wash Day Valley, so for hundreds of years, when someone died there, the body had to be carried up Moses trod and out into the next valley to be buried. Butty Boy is the reluctant fell runner. Episode 11. It will be different now. Camo picked JB up from the usual place outside the hairdresser's.
We are picking up Yorkshire and Three Coats on the way, and just going in the one car today,
said Camo. Oh, OK, said JB.
It was freezing stood there.
JB had winter clothes on, a thicker hat, and was wearing a buff and neck gaiter around his neck, which was pulled up over his nose.
It is a bit,
said Camo.
There's going to be snow on the tops at the Cowgirls. I love it up there when it snows. It would be too treacherous to go into the lakes. You could disappear down an unseen crevice, or step on an overhanging block of snow that gives way, or stand on slippy ice, take off and disappear over the edge. And you'll die!
Well, said JB, his voice muffled by the buff. I'm glad we're not going there then. JB shivered. The cold soon gets in when you're not moving, even when you're wearing warm gear.
Yeah,
said Camo.
It gets your extremities first, your feet, your hands, your nose. Then it works up your legs and arms until finally it gets into your core. If it gets to your core, you'll get hypothermia, and you could die!
A happy thought, said JB.
Oh, it's not the worst way to die,
said Camo cheerily.
It's quite a nice way to go, actually. I had an experience in the army in Norway, inside the Arctic Circle, when I got hypothermia and I nearly died. First you have the cold hands and feet stage, where you are literally banging your hands and feet as hard as you can, but it doesn't help. Then it starts attacking your core, and you have the shivering phase, and you start gibbering when you talk. But then you stop shivering, and that's when it gets really scary, because it feels quite nice. Blissful, actually, and all you want to do is fall asleep. But if you fall asleep, you'll die!
That's 3 you'll dies already, thought JB, counting them up. I won't take a nap on top of the Cowgirls today then, said JB.
Better not,
said Camo.
I've brought a surprise today. Can't wait. I'm so excited.
What is it? Said JB.
It's a surprise,
he said.
Wait and see.
OK, said JB.
What's up?
Said Camo.
Do you not like surprises?
Well, said JB, it depends on whether it's a good surprise, like a nice hot chocolate on the tops from a flask, or if it's a perilous precipice we have to negotiate in the ice or something.
Ha ha!
Laughed Camo.
You're funny, JB. No, it's definitely a nice surprise.
They pulled up outside a row of shops to find Yorkshire in his winter gear, doing a little jog on the spot.
Hello, chaps,
he said, getting in. He took one look at JB.
Who is this, Zorro? The Lone Ranger? Dick Turpin?
Very funny, said JB, his voice muffled.
Seriously, who is it?
Said Yorkshire.
Somebody new?
Are you kidding? Said JB. You don't know who it is?
I don't make jokes,
said Yorkshire. Not good ones, said JB.
Ha ha, very funny, I'm sure.
JB pulled his buff down.
Upon my word, it's Butty Boy. How disappointing.
Thanks, laughed JB.
Well,
said Yorkshire.
I thought we had someone new. I was looking forward to calling him Zorro. We can't call you Zorro if you've already been given the nickname Butty Boy, now can we? That would be confusing.
Sorry to disappoint you, said JB.
Well, nothing new there, ha ha, said Yorkshire. What's with the buff anyway?
I was getting chills on my chest, running in the morning with all the cold air, said JB. I was getting repeated colds and chest infections. If I wear a buff over my face when I run, I don't get them. It makes it a little bit harder to breathe, but it warms your breath.
Have you heard him? Scoffed Yorkshire. Does you get a little chill on your chest? Does Mummy have to rub some Vic on your chest for you? Pop a dab under your nose and put you to bed with a hot water bottle and a bedtime story?
Peaches could do that for me,
said Camo.
I wouldn't mind that.
I'm sure, said Yorkshire. Perhaps put a nurse's uniform on, or a saucy housemaid outfit too while she's about it.
Now you're talking,
said Camo.
Caw! When she speaks and her top lip curls up a little. Ooh, gets me every time.
Now, said Yorkshire. We are not barbarians, you know.
Sorry,
said Camo, though he obviously wasn't. Anyway, you can laugh about it, said JB to Yorkshire, but since I've started running with one of these on in the winter, I've not had a cold or the flu. It does warm your breath and takes the chill off.
It takes the chill off,
mimicked Yorkshire.
Pish pash, man! What a load of codswallop!
JB shrugged. Each to their own, he said. It'll get a bit damp as you breathe, so you just rotate it round a little. You do have to watch out when it pours it down and it gets soaked. It seals over your mouth, and it means you kind of end up waterboarding yourself if you're not careful. If that happens, you kind of have to poke your nose forward a little and jut your jaw out to create a bit of a gap to breathe. JB did the action of pulling his chin down to catch it on the tip of his nose and then wiggle it to create the space. Worst case scenario is you're temporarily back to square one by taking it off. Give it a squeeze, wrap it around your wrist until it stops raining, and then you can put it back on again.
Good for you, said Yorkshire, if you prefer it. I just can't do it. Feels weird. Makes me claustrophobic.
They went to Three Coats' house, a semi-detached. When they parked up, the curtain twitched and let a little light out. Three Coats came out and got in the car.
Morning, everyone,
he said when he got in. He sounded a little stuffy.
Morning. OK, let's get to the hills,
said Camo. Three Coats sneezed. And Camo and Yorkshire gave him a look of horror, which he did not notice.
Have you got a cold coming on?
Said Camo in his half-annoyed way.
Only a little one,
said Three Coats.
I'll be all right.
Camo and Yorkshire gave him a death stare. JB looked at Yorkshire. I'll be all right, he said, and Yorkshire could see his buff change into a smile underneath. Three Coats was oblivious. They arrived at the Cowgirls and did a last-minute preparation.
I'm looking forward to this,
said Camo.
Me too, said Yorkshire. The first snow of the year.
Three Coats had his big sports bag open.
Are you taking a coat?
He said.
I've got me Gore-Tex on today,
said Camo.
OK, said Three Coats. How many layers are you wearing?
I've got this top and a thick thermal layer underneath, so 2.
I've got this top and a thick thermal layer underneath, so 2, said Yorkshire. But I've got a spare fleece in my bag just in case. OK, said Three Coats. Are you taking 1 drink or 2? 2, said Yorkshire. We're more wrapped up, so even though it's colder, we might actually sweat more and require more fluids. OK, said Three Coats. Which shoes are you going to wear? Track or fell? Fell, obviously, said Yorkshire. Always fell shoes on the cowgirls, even in the dry. It's too steep for track. Yes, said Three Coats.
Is he always like this?
Said Camo. Always, said Yorkshire. I'm his fell mummy. I'd just like to double check, that's all, said Three Coats.
Camo held something in his hand. It was a long, fat, blue rubber tube with a plastic top. He checked the top was tight, and then, when he let go and held it in the middle, it flopped over very disconcertingly.
What's that?
Said JB.
Collapsible water bottle,
Said Camo.
Can I have a look?
Said JB.
Sure,
Said Camo, passing it to him. The water bottle of sorts felt strange and rubbery in JB's hand. It flopped about like a children's play toy.
Ugh, it feels horrible,
Said JB.
It's a bit flaccid, isn't it?
Camo took it back off him.
They're brilliant, these,
He said.
When you drink, they shrink and don't take up as much room in your kit. And then when it's done, it all collapses down. Brilliant invention.
How much? Said JB.
I got this free with my new rucksack, but you can get them individually for 18 quid.
Said Camo.
18 quid?
Said JB, startled.
I got my juice bottle free when I bought some juice. I just use these. It does the job fine.
He held up a plastic drink bottle that he used repeatedly.
Not collapsible,
Said Camo, turning up his nose. JB turned around to look at the other two for their opinion.
I've got a couple,
Said Yorkshire, holding his wobbly drinks bottle up.
Here's mine,
Said Three Coats, trying to hold up the wriggly worm. JB shook his head, wondering who was mad, him or all of them.
Let's get going,
Said Camo impatiently.
I'm freezing me nuts off here.
I'm ready,
Said Three Coats.
and we are off,
Shouted Yorkshire.
Take your toe to the snow.
Shouted JB.
Ha ha, good one.
Said Camo.
Take your toes to the snows.
Not bad, said Yorkshire. Not a bad effort there, Butty Boy. I'll give you that one.
Let's put our footprints in fresh snow,
Said Camo.
where no one else dares to go.
Damn,
Said Three Coats, hurrying to catch up at the back.
I've not got one yet.
Got one what?
Said Camo.
A saying,
Said Three Coats.
a motto, you know. I'm the only one who's not had one. I've got to think of one soon.
Don't worry about it.
Said Camo.
Just relax and you'll find one eventually.
I hope so.
Said Three Coats.
It's getting me down.
They set off up the steep hill, with the little patches of snow becoming more frequent. JB was keeping up a lot better now, but still finding it hard. Yorkshire was with Three Coats at the front, and Camo was with JB a little behind.
I can't believe he came out with a cold like that and got in the car with us,
Said Camo.
The dirty rat. Just sneezing like that. What a rat. No fell runner wants a cold or the flu. Push your training right off and could last a month, 2 months. I'd rather have a broken arm than the flu. I could still run with a busted arm. You can't be running with the flu.
Gradually they passed onto ground covered in fresh, untrampled snow. At the top of the hill, where the concrete trig point was, the ground was more trampled by walkers going the shallower route. There was an old man and woman out walking in heavy walking boots and heavy thick clothes. They were in their sleeker and thinner winter running clothes and lighter fell shoes that were basically training shoes with longer rubber studs.
"Morning!"
Morning!
said Yorkshire and Three Coats, going past them first.
"Morning!"
said the walkers.
"Beautiful day for it." "Fresh!"
said Camo.
"Yes, it is,"
laughed the walkers.
"It's like Christmas,"
said JB.
"It is, isn't it?"
they said happily. The walkers followed the foot-trodden, gentle rolling tops, while they cut off towards the steep drop-off where there were no footprints.
"When we get to the top of this drop-off,"
said Camo,
"I've got a surprise for us all."
Ooh, I love surprises,
said Yorkshire.
I don't.
said Three Coats. It depends on what the surprise is, surely, said JB.
All right,
said Three Coats.
no one likes a clever clogs, you know.
"What is it, Camo?"
said Yorkshire, excited.
"You'll see in a minute,"
he said, smiling. They got across the shallow descent and then came to the top of the steep down section.
"Right, this is it,"
said Camo. He stopped running and took his rucksack off.
"Remember when Three Coats came sliding past on his arse and I said I had an idea?"
he said. Yeah, said JB.
"Well,"
said Camo, pulling out some tightly packed plastic bags from his rucksack. Oh, I get it, said JB. Camo handed a plastic bag to each of them.
"Whoa, look at that,"
he said, all excited.
"I've not done this since I was a kid. We'll be down the bottom in no time, and it will save our legs."
Are you sure?
said Three Coats, looking perplexed at the plastic bag.
"See you at the bottom and we'll find out,"
said Camo. Camo put the plastic bag on the floor, jumped on it bottom first, and started to slide down.
"Woohoo! Woohoo!"
he shouted, waving one arm in the air and gripping on with the other.
Here goes nothing,
said Yorkshire. The four of them set off at different speeds and with different levels of success. JB wanted it to work, but he found it disappointing. The ground was too rough. You could only get going for a bit, and then the heather stopped you. The stones hurt your bottom. The plastic was not strong enough. When on the odd occasion you did get some speed up, you worried what you were going to crash into. Near the bottom of the valley, JB gave up, put the plastic bag in his pocket, and made the rest of the way down on foot as usual. At the bottom, Camo was so happy and enthusiastic about it.
"What do you think?"
he said. Three Coats made the last bit down, being buffeted hard.
Ow, 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 ow! These bloody rocks hit your backside hard,
he said. He stood up and looked at his soaking wet legs.
I came off the plastic bag halfway down and went faster on my backside without it,
he said. Everyone laughed at him, stood there, dripping with half-melted snow from the waist down.
It has potential,
said Yorkshire, thinking and rubbing his chin.
"I was thinking,"
said Camo,
"that maybe a winter Norbert round might even be easier than a summer round."
Eh?
said Yorkshire, doubtfully.
"You could slide down a lot of the hills like this,"
said Camo.
"saving your legs. And even better, the snow will fill up all the ruts and crevices cover over a lot of the rocks, so your journey will actually be smoother in a lot of places. And yet again, it will freeze the boggy ground, so that will be easier to get across too. No more leg-sucking, muddy, boggy water. you will be able to go straight across it. You could smash your summertime.
Said Yorkshire, thinking. What about the cold?
You'd need to pick a bright windless day,
said Camo.
and then you'll be fine. The reflection of the sun off the snow will actually make you warm. Don't people go skiing and have to wear a t-shirt because it gets so hot? You might actually have to wear sunglasses and sun cream.
Said Yorkshire, still thinking. Would it be a legal round? Said JB.
Nothing in the rules against it,
Said Camo.
I've checked. It only says you have to get round on your own 2 feet. This is your arse, but I think that still counts.
You know, I think he's right, said Yorkshire. Ooh, yes. I think it really could work. You might be onto something there, Camo. Someone that no one else has thought of yet. Ooh.
Yorkshire's eyes were wide with excitement.
Yes, he continued. It would be cold and you would have to pick your day, but it might actually be easier. You're right. Oh, yeah,
said Three Coats. I don't know, said JB.
Why not?
Said Camo in his half-angry voice.
Yes, why not indeed?
Said Yorkshire.
Yeah, why not?
Said Three Coats. Well, said JB, it sounds all right in theory, but people have been doing winter rounds. My thinking is, how come it hasn't happened like that in real life? They might not have slid down the hills on plastic bags, but those crevices would have been filled in and the rocks covered. But it hasn't worked out that they've found that easier at all. What about all the big rocks you'd have to avoid going downhill? The deadly drop-offs and dangerous hidden ice-covered crevices. The fragile snow overhangs just waiting for you to take one step on them before they give way. And, like Camo says, whoosh, you're off, and that's it.
Ew,
said Yorkshire.
I was getting excited then and you go and burst our bubble.
Yeah,
said Three Coats.
Burst our bubble.
Sorry, said JB. It could work. I'm just not that convinced, that's all. They all stood there looking at him, shaking their heads.
Killjoy.
Ah, well. Back to the drawing board, I'm afraid, Camo,
said Yorkshire, giving him back his plastic bag.
It seems there's no shortcuts after all. Apart from all the little shortcuts, of course.
Oh,
said Camo.
I'm not giving up on the idea just yet.
Sorry, said JB.
Killjoy,
said Three Coats.
Dream killer.
It's not me killing it, said JB. Either it's a good idea or it's not. Nothing to do with me saying it is or it isn't.
You've upset Camo now,
he said. JB was going to say sorry, but didn't. They found a place to cross, and this time Three Coats did not fall in. On the way up on the other side, Camo shook his hands.
One thing about that sled ride, it makes me hands cold,
he said, shaking his hands.
I've got gloves on, and my hands are still bloody freezing. I hate my hands getting cold. Why can't I get a bloody pair of gloves that work? These are supposed to be top of the range. Cost me 45 quid, and they're a piece of crap. The cold always gets in the end.
These are okay,
said Yorkshire.
The Pinkney Micro Fleece Double Stitch. You're right, though. The cold does get in eventually.
I think I'm going to get some of those Midori extra thick mittens,
said Camo.
I've heard they're the best on the market. £80, mind.
Mittens?
Said Yorkshire disparagingly.
What are you, man? 3 years old? Will you have a long piece of string from one side to the other side so that you won't lose them? And will your mummy pass the string through the arms of your coat and make sure you go out with the handkerchief? Ha ha!
My mum's dead,
said Camo. Sorry, said Yorkshire. JB kept out of the conversation after being called the dream killer.
You don't even wear gloves,
said Camo to JB accusingly.
How come you don't get cold hands? Mine kill. I hate it. It's the worst thing about fell running. I hate having cold hands.
I don't like wearing gloves, said JB. I don't like all that material that gets sweaty and itchy around your fingers. I like my fingers to be free. I just put my hands up inside my sleeves, like this. He showed them his sleeves with his hands up inside. Your hands are still out of the wind, and I find it warmer than gloves. If it gets windy, I bunch up the end of my sleeves so the wind doesn't get in. I prefer that than gloves. The wind whistles round your fingers and makes them cold, whereas when they're up inside your sleeves, it doesn't. Yorkshire and Camo gave him a disgusted look. Honestly, I find it keeps them warmer than gloves, said JB. I think it's because the trapped air in your sleeve is warmed by your body heat, and so there's a layer of actual warm air between you and the sleeve. Whereas with the tight fit of the gloves, the wind whistles round and eventually gets at your fingers. They shook their heads. Honestly, I've tried gloves, said JB. They're not as warm.
No,
said Camo, shaking his head.
How can not wearing gloves be warmer than wearing gloves?
Don't be ridiculous, said Yorkshire. Why would people even buy gloves then? JB doubted himself for a minute and had to think and feel his hands nice and warm inside his sleeves. He remembered the itchy feel of them in gloves and the cold gradually getting in. It's true, he said.
No,
said Camo.
You have to have gloves on. Your hands would freeze.
Foolish notion, said Yorkshire, shaking his head. Hang on, said JB, stopping walking up the hill for a second. You're all complaining about cold hands, and I'm telling you my hands are warm, but you think your strategy is right and mine is wrong?
No gloves,
said Camo, walking on, shaking his head. Pish pash, man, said Yorkshire. Yorkshire gave him a look, shook his head, and carried on up the hill. He was so disparaged he could not even waste the energy to say it. You're an idiot, said Three Coats, walking past. JB shook his head and enjoyed the feeling of his warm hands inside his sleeves. What can you do? He said out loud, and started climbing up the steep hill behind them. They carried on over their familiar route over the cowgirls that was now slightly less familiar to JB because it was the first time in the snow. It was quite beautiful, with everything white. The snow just perfect, not yet turned to ice. There was very little wind, so it was quite pleasant inside your warm clothes. But there was still a little atmosphere, because JB was still the dream killer. They made it back to the car. Just before getting in, Yorkshire sneezed. Oh dear, said JB, smiling at him from behind his buff. Should have put one of these buffs on. Said Yorkshire. Do you know what she's done? JB was trying to do some writing and getting nowhere. He heard the phone go in the lounge. His wife came through with the phone. She put her hand over the receiver and mouthed quietly, "It's Camo. He sounds a little drunk." "That's not like him, midweek," said JB. "Not with his training." He took the phone off her. "Hi, Camo. Everything all right?"
"Hi, Buddy,"
he said.
"I'm at the Duke of Wellington, Mare Street. Are you free to come up?"
JB's wife was looking at him. "Just a second," he said.
He wants me to go up. Is it okay? He doesn't sound good.
Of course, she said. You go and see him. Something is obviously up.
JB went back to the phone. I'll be about 5 or 10 minutes.
Cheers, buddy,
he said. Right, see you in about 5-10 minutes then, said JB. He clicked the phone off and gave it back to his wife and went to put his shoes on.
What do you think it is?
Said his wife. Well, I think we'd both guess his family somehow, said JB. Soon find out. He went through into the lounge and got his keys, phone and jacket. He had a quick look in his phone case to double check he had his bank card and some cash. Right then, tell you about it when I'm back. They kissed and hugged.
I hope he's okay, she said.
Well, there obviously seems to be something. Let's hope it's sorted or mended soon. In a minute he was in his car and on his way. In the pub he found Camo, sat nursing a pint in a corner all on his own.
Hi, buddy,
he said.
Thanks for coming. You're a good mate. Sorry you have to see me like this.
Don't worry about it, said JB. What's up? It's obviously something.
Do you want a drink?
He said, fumbling for his wallet. I'll get one in a minute, said JB. Something's obviously happened. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to.
Why not? Why not tell you? It's not a big secret. Everyone will know. My bitch of a wife has thrown me out. Me, after what she did. She's the one throwing me out of my house that I pay for. She's got my kids with her too.
I'll get a drink, said JB. They sat there while he complained. Some of the other pub customers glanced across because Camo was a little loud and a little leery, and he did not care who heard.
I don't know what I'm going to do, he said. I could bloody kill her for what she's done.
He was loud, and a couple at a nearby table looked across. JB turned around and looked at him. No worries, he said. It's just a figure of speech.
Do you know what she's done to me?
Said Camo out loud, staring at JB, not caring who overheard.
Do you want to know what she's done?
Don't tell me, said JB. Camo looked confused.
Why not? I don't mind, he said. Everyone'll know soon enough.
Well, I'll find out then, said JB. Don't tell me now.
Why not?
Well, more than likely you'll end up back together. You'll be trying to forgive her, and you'll regret telling me, telling anyone.
We won't get back together,
he said, shaking his head.
I can't see it, not now.
Have you split up before? Said JB.
Yeah,
said Camo.
A few times, but nothing like this.
It seems like that now, said JB. But after both of you sleeping on it, it might look different.
No, it won't,
said Camo.
That's it now. Finished. All over. She's got my kids. Her. My kids. And she's the one that's done it and not me.
He banged his hand on the table. How many have you had? Said JB.
Don't know. Don't care, said Camo. Been here all afternoon. Didn't know what to do, so I just got drunk.
Where are you planning on going tonight? Said JB.
Probably go to my brother's, he said. Not told him yet. He looks down on me, my baby brother. Always has done. He'll be lording it over me on this one.
How are you getting there? Said JB.
I'll drive,
said Camo. No bloody chance, said JB. Not in your state. Don't be daft.
You're right. I wasn't going to. I'll get a taxi.
Why don't you come back to mine tonight? Said JB.
Sleep it off. and tomorrow you can either go back home or go to your brother's." "Eh?" said Camo. "Are you sure? What about your wife?" "She won't mind," said JB. "Give her a ring and make sure," said Camo. "No, she'll be fine," said JB. "Well, you've got a good one there," he said. "Yeah," agreed JB. "Don't bugger it up," said Camo angrily at him. "I'll try not to," said JB. In no time at all, 6'5" of Camo was asleep on JB's couch, covered with a sheet, snoring away. "Poor Camo," said JB's wife. "Yeah," said JB. The next day, Camo was all apologies. "No, I'd better not stay another night," said Camo. "I'll go to my brother's. Face the music." "I'll drive you," said JB. "You'll still have too much in your system. You don't want to risk losing your driving licence." "No, not that as well," said Camo. "I've lost everything else." JB's wife gave him a look of sympathy. "I'm sure you two will work it out," she said. "I don't think so," said Camo. "Not this time. I think this is it." "Right, well, let's get going," said JB. "Thanks, Mrs. B," said Camo. "Any time," said JB's wife. When they were outside, JB said to Camo, "Remember, she's not Mrs. B, she's Mrs. T. My name's not Jam Butty for real." "Oh, yeah," said Camo. "Tell her I said sorry." "It's all right," said JB. "Not the biggest worry in the world." "No," said Camo. "Can we call at a cash point on the way?" "Sure," said JB. On the way, they stopped at a cash point and Camo got out. A minute later, he pounded on the cash machine. "Dirty bitch!" he shouted. JB wound down the window. "What's up?" he said. "She's cleaned out our joint account," said Camo. "Every last bleeding penny. What does she think I'm supposed to do? I can't live on nothing." JB thought a second, got out of the car and went to the cash machine. "What are you doing?" said Camo. "I'm getting you out some money," said JB. "Oh no, I didn't mean for you to do that," said Camo. "It's okay," said JB. "You'll need something. It'll get sorted one way or another, and you can pay me back then." "No, I can't take your money," said Camo. "I'll lend some off me brother until I can sort out this bitch of a wife of mine." "Well, you can pay me back then," said JB. JB handed him a wad of cash and Camo flipped through it. "There's £200 here," he said. "I thought it would be 20 quid or something. I can't take this." He held it out to give it back. "No, it's fine," said JB. "You know you might need it. Pay me back whenever. There's no rush." JB got in the car and Camo got in. Camo sat staring, looking at the money. "I have to take it," he said. "But I'm disgusted to take it from you. You're a really good friend, Jam Butty." "Forget it," said JB. "You'd do the same for me." JB dropped him off at his brother's and went home. "Did he get off all right?" said his wife. "Sort of. We stopped at a cash point on the way, and guess what?" he said. "She cleaned it out," she said. "Yeah," said JB. "The dirty mare," said his wife. "She plays for keeps, that one." "Yeah," said JB. "I lent him some money. I hope that's okay." "How much?" she said. 200, said JB. 200, said his wife. "I suppose he'll need it if he's got nothing. We will be okay financially.
won't we? Bit tight this month now, said JB, but we'll be okay. Probably better than Camo. Yeah, she said. Poor Camo. At least you can say you've been a good friend to him. Really good. And you, said JB. Not really, she smiled. JB was quiet for a moment. It'll be different now, he said. What do you mean? Said his wife. Why would it? It just will be, said JB. Watch and see. It just will. They heard nothing from Camo for a few days, and then when they were in the lounge, they heard the letterbox go. JB went up to see what it was. There was a thin white envelope with Jam Butty written on the outside. He brought it back through into the lounge. What's that? She said. What do you think it could be? I think I can guess, said JB. He opened the envelope, and he was right. Inside there was £200 in paper money. There was a little note on a small piece of paper. JB read it and passed it to his wife. Thanks, she said. Just the word thanks. Why didn't he knock and come in for a cup of tea? Told you it would be different, said JB. The next night the phone went and JB picked it up. His wife mouthed, Who is it? Camo, mouthed JB. Is he okay? She said. He held up his hand while he listened. Hi, buddy, said Camo. You coming out tonight? Where are you? Said JB. You sound a little drunk. JB's wife shook her head. I am drunk, said Camo. But don't worry, drunk on happiness. Oh, yeah? Said JB. Yeah, he said. Me and Sharon are back together. We've patched things up. Oh, you're back together, he said, so that his wife could find out at the same time. I thought you might. You were right, said Camo. I thought it was done. You've been a good friend. I told Sharon all about it and she agrees. You've been great. It's okay, said JB. I didn't do anything really. No, you did, said Camo. Did you get the envelope? Yes, thanks, said JB. There really was no rush to pay it back though. No, it was a great thing to do, said Camo. Even Sharon said. I didn't spend it actually. It's the same notes. But that's not the point. You offered it, and I'll never forget that. No, said JB. It's fine to forget it. Honestly, it was nothing. No, it wasn't. It was a great thing. Even Sharon said so. No, I know it's late tonight, and you probably can't come out, but that's the main reason I'm ringing. It's to say that this Friday night we're having a getting back together party to celebrate. Have a few friends round. Have a little buffet and a few drinks. Her parents have agreed to take the kids for the weekend too, so we'll probably get rat-assed, get up late together for the first time in ages, spend some quality time together, and get back sorted, you know. Sounds great, said JB. You've got to come, buddy, said Camo. Sharon says so. She wants to thank you, in person, for being such a good mate, like. There's no need to thank me, honestly, said JB. There is, said Camo. Promise me you'll come. Sharon made me promise that you'll come. Yeah, I'll try and come then, said JB. Brilliant, said Camo. Bring your wife too. Sharon would love to meet her. I'll try, yeah. We'll see. We'll see if we can get a babysitter or something then. JB's wife was shaking her head, and JB shook his head, meaning that he did not mean it. That'll be brilliant, said Camo. Get a taxi, so you can have a good drink too to celebrate, and get rat-arsed yourself. OK, said JB.
Right, I've got to go,
said Camo.
My brother's just got another round in.
OK, said JB. How's the running coming on?
Oh,
said Camo.
Gone to shit this week, but I'm not bothered. I'll get it back. Most important, I've got Sharon back. And the kids.
Of course, said JB. Have a good night.
The best,
he said.
Thanks, buddy. I'll see you Friday. Can't wait to tell Sharon. She wants to thank you, you know.
OK, said JB.
See you Friday then.
He told his wife some of the conversation she wouldn't have been able to hear. Oh, that's nice of him to say all that. Of course you have to go now. You were wrong to worry. Of course he's still your friend. You come too, he said. Oh no, that's not my sort of thing, she said, shaking her head. The Get Back Together Party. The Get Back Together Party was a great hit for everyone except JB. Everyone was having a good time, but he could not help feeling terrible through the whole thing. Camo stayed away most of the night, and Sharon kept completely away from him. If their eyes caught, she gave him one of her hard-faced stares. She wants to thank me, does she? Thought JB. One of their friends he did not know came over, a little worse for drink. Isn't it great they're back together? He said. Great, it's what they want, said JB. You don't think they should get that together? He said. I never said that, said JB. I said it's great because that's what they want. Well, I think it's great, he said, looking over at them. They are a lovely couple together, don't you think? One of the best. Yeah, said JB. You don't think so? He said. I never said that, said JB. Don't say things I never said. Oh, OK, he said. You just don't seem so pleased with them, that's all. Don't you think they should be together? He's forgiven her for the online gambling and taken her back. Is that what it was? Said JB. Yes, he said. Didn't you know? I thought you were his friend. I told him not to tell me what it was about, said JB. Why did you do that? He said. Well, because it's his business, not my business, said JB. Well, I asked. So you don't think he should have told who what it was? I never said that, said JB, getting exasperated. I just mean things go on in a marriage, and that's between them. What they're happy with, what they agree to themselves. And then it's no one else's business. Other people might agree or might not agree with certain things, put up with certain things. But that's for them, and their own marriage. The man looked puzzled, screwing up his face. So, he said, you don't think they should have a get that together party then? They should have just kept it to themselves? No, I never said that either, said JB. I'm saying if they want to have a get back together party, then that's their business, no one else's. If someone else wants to break up, again, their business. If someone else wants to get back together and not have a party to celebrate, again, their business. So you're saying... Let me stop you there, said JB. Now what I am definitely saying, yes, definitely saying, is bugger off. Well, I never, he said. Now, I am now going to take a piss, said JB. Do you have any comment on that? Oh, upstairs and to the right, he said. Thanks, said JB. He went upstairs to the bathroom, more for a break than anything. He looked at himself in the mirror. Let's get out of here, he said. He was wearing more dressy than running clothes, but at least he had on a pair of training shoes. He decided to jog the 3 miles home. He went downstairs and let himself out without speaking to anyone. into the cold night air and started to jog. He got in bed beside his wife. She looked at the clock.
"I thought you'd be later than this," she said.
"How did it go?" "Oh my God, that was so awful," said JB.
"I thought it might be,"
she said. "A getting back together party always was a strange idea to me." "Each to their own, I guess," said JB.
"What's his wife like?"
she said. He said. He pictured her frowning face and then had a picture of a baboon with the same expression. "He obviously loves her, but she's not my type. But I bet I'm definitely not her type either."
"At least you went,"
she said. "Yeah." "Still think it will change things?" she said. "Definitely," said JB.